You left a sweet note on the counter before work. They cancelled dinner to squeeze in one more hour together later in the week. You felt brushed aside. They felt unseen. And both of you went to bed wondering why love keeps missing the target. This is a story about love languages and how changing how you show love can change how love lands. Here at Whispered Hearts. English, we care less about grand gestures and more about the tiny choices that carry emotional weight in real life. Think of a Tuesday night in a small apartment with laundry on the chair, a fridge humming, and two people trying to be good to each other. When love is spoken in a dialect your partner doesn't understand, even generous effort can sound like static. Let's tune the frequency so your care comes through clearly. There's something even simpler than communication tips that often gets overlooked. Love tends to be felt through a few familiar doors, and each of us has one that opens more easily than the others. Counselors often describe 5 doorway styles that show up again and again in US relationships. Once you notice them, you'll start seeing them everywhere. For some, words carry the heat and light of connection. A single, specific sentence can feel like sunlight after days of grey. For others, time is the currency that matters most, and being fully present in the same room beats any poetic text. Have you noticed which moments leave you feeling most understood? Another door opens through helpful actions that lighten a load, when the trash is taken out without being asked, or the car gets filled before the morning commute. The heart relaxes. Some people come alive with tangible tokens, not for the price, but for the sense of, I was on your mind. Then there's the language that is skin close, an arm on a shoulder, a hand squeezed at a red light, the quiet steadiness of touch that says, I'm here. Which of these, when you picture it right now, makes your chest loosen a little? But there's a quiet twist before we go further. What if your partner has been telling you how they feel loved all along, but not with words? Watch what they give first. Pay attention to where they protest most when it's missing. Have you ever caught yourself asking for love in the same style you offer it? Here's a simple experiment you can try this week. Think back to your partner's happiest moments in the last month and list what was happening around them. Was it a long walk at sunset after a hot summer day? Or an unexpected latte sliding across the kitchen island before work? Map those moments to the language they hint at, and you'll start to see a pattern. Which ones repeat, even in small ways? Before we step into daily habits, consider a practical way to discover each other's preferences without a quiz. Ask, what is one small thing I did recently that made you feel really cared for? Then ask, what's one small thing I stopped doing that you secretly miss? The first answer reveals a likely primary door. The second shows where a draft is sneaking in. What would it look like to put those 2 answers on your calendar this week? There's one more clue that can save you months of confusion. Notice the complaint that keeps coming back after conflicts cool down. You never say anything nice. You're always busy. You never help me. You don't hold me. You never surprise me. Each refrain points to a different door that's asking to be opened. Which refrain sounds familiar in your home? But there's something even quieter holding love together than preferences alone. It's the rhythm of your life and how you design for connection on ordinary days. The design matters because stress, schedules, and screens are always trying to renovate your relationship without your permission. What if you took the blueprint back? Picture a late winter evening when the air is crisp and the heat is humming through old vents. You set aside 20 minutes after dinner with phones face down, just to talk about the day. You don't try to fix, you just reflect back what you heard and ask one gentle question. Could your evenings feel different if you treated this time as non-negotiable? On a bright spring Saturday, you run errands as a team instead of dividing and conquering. You carry in the bags, put them away, and wipe the counters before your partner asks. The kitchen isn't just clean, it's a message that says, your brain can rest here. Where could you trade 10 minutes of solo hustle for 10 minutes of shared ease? Let's talk about the language of words in a way that doesn't feel corny. Specificity is oxygen for praise. You're amazing floats away. But I watched you present today, and your calm made the whole room breathe easier. Stays in the body. If words are their doorway, what specific thing could you name tonight? If time is their door, the calendar is your love letter. Walks after dinner, a shared show without multitasking, a planned coffee before work once a week. These are relationship connection tips that almost never go out of style. They scale with any budget and any season. Where will you build margin on purpose this month? If actions speak loudest, watch for chores that are most draining and quietly take them off the plate. Set the coffee the night before. Handle the return label they keep putting off, or repair the wobbly chair without an announcement. Acts of service are care translated into motion. What small task could you convert into love's language by Friday? For gifts, remember that meaning beats money. Pick up a paperback by an author they adore, save a leaf from the first fall hike and tuck it into their notebook, or pre-order tickets to a tiny theatre screening they mentioned once. The message is, I keep a little shelf in my mind with your name on it. What inexpensive token could you leave in their path this week? For touch, think subtle and steady rather than grand. A hand to the shoulder when you pass in the hall, a hug that lasts a few seconds longer than usual, a foot brush under the blanket during a Sunday movie. The body remembers these signals long after the words fade. Where could you add a small touch that feels natural, not forced? There's a moment that tests every couple's fluency. It's the moment after a misunderstanding, when the room goes quiet and both of you feel fragile. This is where repair lives. Can you name your part, offer a real apology, and ask what would help right now? Imagine a humid summer night and an argument that ran too long. You breathe, knock lightly on the bedroom door, and sit at the edge of the bed with open hands. I didn't hear what you were asking for. I chose efficiency over warmth, and that hurt you. I'm sorry. Would it help if I took tomorrow's errands so we can have that hour together after dinner? How would your partner feel if repair came with empathy and one concrete action? In the middle of all this, you might be wondering if you're doing it right. The truth is, fluency grows with practice, not perfection. If you're listening with a tender heart, whispered hearts. English is a place where you belong while you learn and try again. What would it feel like to treat your love life as a craft rather than a test? But there's a difference between loving in your partner's language and abandoning your own. You need to feel filled too. Share what refuels you without apology and invite them to practice it with you. What's one request you've been keeping quiet that would take 10 minutes and change the tone of your week? One of the most helpful shifts is to connect love languages with predictable moments. Morning routines, commutes, meals, and pre-bed rituals are recurring hooks you can hang connection on. Tie a tiny habit to each so that love doesn't depend on willpower in the middle of chaos. Which daily anchor will you choose first? Consider the commute, even if it's a walk from bedroom to desk. If words matter, send a 2-sentence text at lunch that names one thing you appreciated from the morning. If time matters, hold a brief check-in call while you both sit in the car, AC whirring, before heading inside. What 5-minute pocket could become a reliable pulse of us? Even the seasons can carry your care if you let them. In autumn, plan a Saturday with scarves and crunchy leaves, sharing a thermos and slower steps through the park. In spring, leave a small plant on the windowsill with a handwritten note about new growth. Which season gives you the easiest path right now? There will be days when you misread the cues. That's not failure, it's feedback. When an effort lands flat, ask, what would have made that feel better for you? Then repeat their answer, back, slowly, and try again within 48 hours so the nervous system learns hope. What's one do-over you're willing to attempt this week? Let's return to our opening couple for a moment. One prized thoughtful notes, the other craved undivided presence. They stopped keeping score and started trading tiny proofs. He set 2 chairs on the porch on warm summer evenings and left his phone inside. She tucked a short, specific message into his laptop bag before an early flight. Which version of I see you feels like a match for your home? As your fluency grows, your arguments may change shape. Disagreements don't disappear, but they get shorter and softer when both of you trust that love will be expressed in ways that register. The nervous system stops bracing, and the room feels safer faster. What if your next difficult conversation started with, I want to make sure this lands in your language. But there's one more truth that often goes unspoken. You can be fluent and still need translation on hard days. Stress, grief, and exhaustion make us forgetful. That's when a simple script helps. I want connection, but I'm overwhelmed. Could we do the short version tonight? Where could you use a short version that works in 20 minutes or less? When in doubt, choose the smallest possible action with the highest emotional yield. 1 sentence, 1 chore, 1 hand squeeze. Then pay attention to how your partner's body responds. Shoulders drop, breath deepens, eyes soften. What did you notice last time you tried something small and specific? US couples often juggle busy schedules, rising costs, and long commutes that eat the margins. That's why these habits have to be lightweight and repeatable. Think porch chats in late summer, slow stew on a snowed-in Sunday, a walk through the farmer's market with green smells rising after spring rain. Which picture feels doable in your zip code? Over time, the practice becomes less about guessing and more about remembering what worked, when it worked, and how it felt. You'll start anticipating needs the way good musicians anticipate a note that hasn't been played yet. What would it be like to be each other's favorite song? In the end, the point isn't to become perfect at all 5 languages. It's to become reliable in the one that matters most to the person you love, while keeping the others in your toolkit. Reliability builds trust, and trust makes romance feel like home, whether you're on a city balcony or a quiet porch in the suburbs. Which promise of reliability can you make today? If this conversation has stirred something, pause before you scroll away. Name your partner's likely top door and pick one action for the next 24 hours. Then ask them, gently, how did that land? Real love is fluent, teachable, and patient with practice. What will your first sentence be? Love feels complicated, but the map can be simple. When you choose to speak in the way your partner hears best, you trade effort that misses for effort that heals. You don't have to change who you are to connect. You just have to choose a door and keep showing up there. In the comments, tell me what you think your primary love language is and what you'll try tonight. And when you're ready to make this a habit, remember that your relationship doesn't have to be impressive to be intimate. It has to be consistent. If our stories here at Whispered Hearts English help you feel less alone in the work, stay with us as we keep translating care into action, one ordinary day at a time. Love languages are simple to name and powerful to practice when you practice them together.